The Scorched number 28 from Image Comics reveals Jason Wynn has been a very busy boy, putting the agency's resources to good use, making weapons designed to take the Scorched down. And we're going to talk about it right here in the review. See you in 3. Welcome back to Comical Opinions. This is our review of the Scorched number 28 from Image Comics. In this review, we're going to talk about what happened in the last issue, what happened in this issue, what we liked, what we didn't like, and stay tuned to the end for the final score. Before we get started, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. Your attention is greatly appreciated. Let's start off with the credits. This issue was written by John Layman with a script input by Todd McFarlane. The art is drawn by Steven Segovia with colors by Ulysses Areola and Robert Nugent. Letters by Ann World Design, and the cover for cover A, or the main cover, is drawn by Jonathan Glapion. Before we dig into this issue, let's recap what happened in issue number 27. After a brief recap from the events of the Heaven-Hell War, we learned that the Scorched are effectively powerless because everybody who draws their power from heaven or hell is now without their power due to the Earth being covered entirely by a dead zone. And the only person who is on their team that actually still has some kind of power capability is Haunt. And so they're still going around and acting as a team, but they're trying to sort of get their act together, figure out how they can be effective as a team, relying a lot on their black ops and military training to get the job done. However, when they're in Paris and working on a mission, they're attacked by a covert military team, and we find out after a little bit of back and forth and some background scenes that the agency has been resurrected, that one of the main people who is tracking the Scorched down is a person by the name of Agent Lynn, and that the head of the agency is the now resurrected and back in charge Jason Wynn. That brings us to the Scorched number 28. So in this issue, we get a little bit of insight into Jason Wynn's day-to-day operations. He's working from an underground black site bunker where it turns out that the resources for the agency are being used to modify past heroes and villains who have been captured, and he's trying to brainwash them and distort them and rework them and rebuild them into weapons that he can use for all of his enemies. And his sights are primarily set on the Scorched, particularly Jessica Priest. We learned that in this underground bunker where all these kind of nefarious experiments are happening, he's got characters like Overt Kill and the female Haunt. And even though Agent Lynn seems a little bit put off by the stuff that Jason Wynn is doing, she still plays along and she still acts as a dutiful agent. Meanwhile, the Scorched get a tip-off that the agency is operating out of a skyscraper or building or some kind of military base. Jessica, the Haunt, and Redeemer decide to infiltrate the base to try and kill everybody and get to Jason to find out what he's up to. When they finally get into the heart of the installation, Jason appears on the screen saying, "I knew you'd come for me because I planted the seeds the whole time for you to find me, because I want you, Jessica Priest. I don't want to take you down. I want you to come work for me again and be my killer." She shoots out the screen, says no way, and they decide to take off even though Jason tries to blow up the installation. Of course, Haunt uses his powers and they get away scot-free. And Agent Lynn's like, "Didn't we just antagonize them and tell them what you're up to?" And he's like, No. I know Jessica Priest. Now she knows that I'm around. Now she knows I'm after her. She's going to come to me, and don't you worry about that." And we cut to the last scene where we find out that Jason Wynn has been using the agency's resources to create sort of killer, mindless clones of Overt Kill to form a cybernetic army. If you're wondering where this series now fits in the Spawnverse after the events of the Heaven-Hell War, particularly how it relates to Spawn, right now it doesn't. It seems to be its own thing, operating in its own sphere with its own set of characters, and Spawn isn't anywhere to be seen. You'd think with Jason Wynn appearing back on the scene that Spawn would definitely want to get involved, but right now he's not a factor at all. This is entirely and exclusively just about the Scorched, and Spawn is off doing his own thing elsewhere. What do we like about the Scorched number 28? Good action, good character moments, especially between Jessica Priest and Agent Wynn. This is very, I would say not Agent Wynn, Jason Wynn. This is a very Jason Wynn-centric issue. You get, if you're not familiar with him before, especially with his past with Spawn, this is a good jumping on point to learn about the villain, to understand how he operates, to understand how far he's willing to go to get what he wants, and just getting a true understanding of his status as a villain character that operates within the Spawnverse. So this is a good jumping on point for that villain, and you definitely get the sense that the Scorched, particularly Jessica Priest, have their hands full. What didn't we like about the Scorched number 28? Honestly, not much. Most of the things that you could point to as being flaws or down points are minor nitpicks. It would have been nice to get a little bit more of background on Overt Kill and what Jason calls quote unquote female haunt and some other things in there. I mean, the reference, these should have been wow moments, but there is a distinct lack of editor's notes to tell you where to reference them or where to find them. So some cool cameos and points are introduced that really just don't get enough referential information that kind of leaves you like wanting more of, hey, what's this person all about? Why is this important? And you're sort of just lacking that information. These are minor nitpicks. They don't really take away from the story that much, but it would have been nice to kind of get that little bit of extra attention to detail. Let's switch gears to talk about the art. We're very familiar with Steven Segovia's work, mostly on covers, not necessarily on interior pages, but it looks really great here. The character designs are imposing, especially with the Overt Kill army that you see on the last page. The action is pretty spectacular, and the overall look and feel feels very dramatic and powerful. So Segovia is doing a fantastic job on this issue. Final thoughts. What do we think about the Scorched number 28? Lots of great action. For a Jason Wynn centric episode, the character is very much elevated as a powerful and formidable villain, somebody that's going to give the Scorched a run for their money. And you feel like that his association with the agency, especially using the resources to create an army of bad guys, both past and present, could be big trouble for the super team going forward. So overall, this is a very solid issue with pretty solid art. Therefore, we're going to give the Scorched number 28 from Image Comics an 8.5 out of 10. Great art, great storytelling, and you can definitely see that the story is headed someplace with lots of drama and action in the future. Are you following the Spawnverse? Are you following the Scorched? Is this your favorite title out of the Spawnverse, or do you prefer the main Spawn titles? Let us know in the comment section. Otherwise, please stay tuned through the outro for the next review.